All right, welcome to the 45th episode of Talkin Toros. We're your unofficial Chicago Bulls podcast. Make sure to follow us at Talkin Toros. That's with no G. I am one of your co-hosts, Myles Phelps. You can find me on Twitter at mphelps11. With me today is just AB. AB and I are going to rock this solo. So Adam Brown, you can find him at Souvenir City. And Luis, you can find him at LCM 1986. He's taking a much-needed day off today, doing some BN Bears stuff, so make sure to follow at BN Bears as well. So this being the 45th episode, we usually do the number thing to showcase what player has worn that number based on the episode that we are on. AB mentioned Denzel Valentine wearing the 4-5, but failed to remember that Jordan came back wearing the 4-5, I think, as Kanye said. So what do you have to say for yourself?
Don't go that far. Don't say that I didn't remember. It's that I chose an active player over a guy from 25 years ago who, while he might currently be the best player of all time, is not currently on the team. So it's the Denzel episode because we're currently in the Denzel era.
Just some guy that has a statue outside the United Center, but whatever, I get it. So we got a lot to get to today. We haven't recorded anything, I think, since the Bulls played like a regular season game. So we're going to get to what's that? Since the draft,
right after the draft, I think was the last time we recorded.
Yeah, you're right. So we got a lot to talk about, which is good because I think there's been even though it's been a short season already, there's been two Bulls sides that we've seen. So they obviously had the rough start. They are doing much better now, so we're going to touch on that. We'll get into some player centric combo. I know that we're both, I don't know if excited is the right word, but we're both eager to talk about Lauri Markkanen and what's to do with him. Obviously, some thoughts on Billy Donovan. And then if we get some time, we're going to touch on some crazy stuff going on in the NBA, especially with James Harden. The Knicks are winning, so we'll talk about that. So there's just a lot of weird stuff going on right now. It's been kind of fun. But before we get to all that, AB, how was your New Year's and your Christmas and all that stuff?
Pretty good. Can't complain, considering the circumstances. Didn't get to see the fam. We did a Zoom Christmas, so that was okay. But I'm just glad 2020 is fucking over. Let me tell you that much. How was yours?
Yeah, no, same. I think, just with the situation of the world, it sucks that we can't see more family, but I got a chance to see my sister and my mom, which is fun. We just bought a house, so I've just been doing random projects around the house. And
you installed an outlet.
Yeah, exactly. Installed. Well, I've done a lot.
Unsuccessfully installed an outlet, but hopefully it's been fixed.
So I will say it's been the one thing I haven't been able to do yet. I know what I did wrong, so I have to fix it. But I installed a new light fixture. I reran new wire to a thermostat for our HVAC system. I've put in. I've done two light fixtures. So I'm trying to install a new outlet that I can plug our bidet into, because we have a fancy bidet that has a heated seat and everything, so it needs an outlet, and I just don't like the cords going everywhere. So that's my next project. But
fucking Euro Al Borland over here.
Yeah, I mean, but if you don't have a bidet, I mean, I would strongly
want one.
it.
I really do want one.
It is worth every penny. You don't have to get the fancy one like we have. I mean, they got some cheap ones that you're just going to save on toilet paper. So next time the pandemic starts, you don't got to worry about the run on the supermarket.
Before we get started, because this is the first time you've done a show in the new home, where's Cutout Mike?
So, great question. Michael Jordan is downstairs, right next to our TV. So I've got it right in the corner. The thing with that thing is that it was given to me by my grandma when I was in third grade. So it has been all around the country. It's been folded up a billion times. It's been in storage for a year or so. So I wanted it into a place where I wouldn't have to move it a lot, because I think if I touch it again, it's just going to disintegrate. Yeah, exactly. Fair. So Mike's in the basement.
Get that thing laminated.
Well, yeah, I should. All right, so let's talk about the Bulls. I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis, a quick rundown here, and then we'll discuss it. So they had a rough start, obviously. They started out getting just absolutely murdered by the Hawks in their opener. That one was over by halftime, and I didn't even watch the second half. Then they were blown out by Indiana. Sabonis just made Wendell Carter his bitch, for lack of a better word.
He's done that to a lot of people this year.
Yeah, exactly. He's very, very good. Very underrated, in my opinion. Then they had the last-second loss to Golden State, so they played a little bit better. But even when there was that 5-second violation that wasn't called, they just didn't live up to it at the final minutes there. They kind of blew it. Then we kind of transitioned into where we're at right now. So they swept Washington with these new baseball type series in their building. They blew out the Bucks, which was kind of expected.
They got blown
Blown
out.
out by the Bucks, which was kind of expected. Then they won against the Mavs. Luka and KP, I believe, did not play in that. But Levine had a good game. He shot, 39, season high for him. And then they had that amazing win in Portland when they trailed by 20, which is, I think, where they started getting some national attention because that game was on NBA TV. So they battled down the stretch. They're able to pull that out. And even in the loss last night against Sacramento, the game was close. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, I think the Bulls were
Tied.
down by one.
No, it's tied. 93-93.
Oh, yeah, it was tied. You're right. So Kobe White, very, very good game. I think Denzel Valentine had a good game. I could go down the list, but what you're seeing is improvement. And so AB, after seeing what are we in six games so far, seven games so far,
nine now. They're 4-5. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. What has been your impression of the 2021 Bulls in this new era?
For the first 3 games of the season, they looked like a team that hadn't played in 8 months because, well, they hadn't played in 8 months and there was a pandemic. They got a new coach. They were trying to figure out a new system, and that was expected. Although at the same time, like, I didn't expect this team to be all that good this year. They ran it back. This is the same roster we saw last year, plus a rookie in Patrick Williams. But yeah, those first 3 games were kind of how I expected. I thought they would actually beat Golden State because Golden State's start was pretty awful too. But the first 3 games played out as expected. Then going to Washington, I thought Beal and Westbrook were going to run this backcourt out of the gym because, I mean, Beal went for 60 last night against the Sixers. I don't even know what his high was against the Bulls, but I don't think he topped 30 in but one of the games. So yeah, that baseball series against Washington was a little bit surprising, and it was nice to see them take both games. And that was at the beginning without having Lauri Markkanen because he's in COVID protocol now. The Bucks game, I think that's when you just throw in the trash. Like, the Bucks are really good. The Bucks had also just come off of a loss against the Knicks at the Garden, so I think they were just like, all right, fuck this, we're going to run this team out of the gym. And then the Dallas game, like, that was the one where when we were watching it, I'm like, how much stock am I supposed to put into this? There's no Luka, there's no KP. The best guy on the floor is like Tim Hardaway Jr. or Dwight Powell or something. And Levine has a huge 39-point game. They win it, and then
it was actually Brunson. Brunson had that crazy game.
Oh yeah, Jalen Brunson had an awesome game. You're right. But then the game in Portland, though, I'll be honest, we were texting in our text thread during that game, and I was like, in the second quarter, I'm like, they're fucking down 20. Like, halftime, I'm going to throw on the PS and start playing some golf or something. This isn't even worth it. I ended up going to bed, and like, they started battling back in the third quarter, and I stayed up and watched the whole thing and was shocked. I couldn't believe they came back and won. Like, they shut down Lillard in the second half of that game. I think he had 6 points. It was ridiculous. So that my thoughts are, it's going to be a roller coaster season, as these first 9 games have shown us, but they're consistently getting better. Whereas, and I think you and I discussed this before, if Jim Boylen is the coach in that Portland game, they lose it by 35. So
yeah, I mean,
it's a difference.
Zach was asked that question directly after the Blazers win. He says, would you have won this game last year? And he said immediately, no. And and I think Nick Friedel brought it up on the Windhorse podcast today or yesterday, of like, that's an indictment on Jim Boylen. That it's the same exact team from last year with the addition of Pat Will and Temple. But mostly, like, the core is still intact. It's the same exact situation.
Otto's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, if you want to give him, those types of passes, obviously we do not, because it's a broader issue with him as your head coach. But I think what's been cool, we were talking about it yesterday in our text thread, was, you have that Blazers win. So you have a 20-point come behind win, and you never want to rely
on the NBA this year to do it too.
Correct. Yes. You never want to rely on one game to get your, barometer on what a team is going to be. But like we said, all we wanted to see in the Kings game the next day was we wanted to see a close game. We didn't want to see a fatigued team get blown out, and they were tired. They were very, very clearly tired, which is totally understandable.
Plus, it's hard to get up after everything that happened yesterday.
Yeah, and you're still on the West Coast, so you're not in your own time zone. But we wanted to see improvement, and we already talked about the fact that how they were close, and so that type of win and then building upon it wouldn't happen last year. And I think what we're going to see this year is, like you said, ups and downs, but you want to see good, solid wins against not just like the bottom team. Like, remember what happened last year is that we would win against the
They
shitty
got swept
teams.
by Golden State last year. Golden State had the fucking second pick in the draft.
Yep. So, I mean, yeah, again, like it's just different, and it's just fun to see. Like, we're actually seeing improvement that we want. Like, Lou has been touting this, like, all you want to do is build, and improve every single time, every time out. And we're starting to see that, which I think is pretty cool.
And we're also not seeing cutaway shots during timeouts of the bench just in total despair, being like, I got to fucking do this for how many more games this year? Like, we just got to play out the string and get this coach out of here. No, these guys believe in their head coach and they are out there playing for him, and you can tell through their play. He is inspiring these guys to believe in themselves and have some confidence. Kobe White's a perfect example. Actually, so is Zach LaVine, because Zach LaVine hated Jim Boylen, absolutely hated him. Lauri Markkanen clashed with his role with Jim Boylen last year, and even though Lauri's in protocol, like the first two games we saw him this year, he was arguably their best player, and he looked confident driving to the basket on certain possessions, even if I still think he played a little bit soft in some of those games. I hate using that word, but couldn't think of anything else right there. But yeah, it looks like they are getting up for every game to play, and they are not, mailing any of these in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point of just like the demeanor of the entire team. We didn't see that last year. We didn't see the team, like, if they were to come together, it was to say fuck you, Jim Boylen. There wasn't like, hey, we got to come together as a team and win this. Like, no, it never happened. They were giving up, halfway in the first half because they were starting to get blown out. The defense looks better. The offense looks better. The communication, the switching on defense is a lot better. There's obviously a ton of things that they have to work on. They're not going to the finals or anything like that. But as Bull fans, all we want to see is improvement. All we want to see is just a commitment to taking the present day way to play basketball, if that makes sense. I phrased that poorly, but basically, using
Modern
analytics.
basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Using analytics, just playing in this century. That's all
We want to see them fuse together development with also trying to win basketball games, in the way that Donovan is structuring his rotations, by having Temple out there, by having Thad Young now especially back, Denzel Valentine, some of these older guys out there in his closing group. It shows that they are trying to win these games with their best group on the floor at the end of it, if it's close.
Correct. Yep. It's been fun. I'm excited to see what happens next. Hopefully they can just continue to build. I mean, like you said, there's going to be downs, but on the whole, as long as we're seeing,
they play the Lakers and the Clippers next, so yeah, there's going to be some downs.
So there's going to be some downturn. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some players. So the first one is Lauri Markkanen. You mentioned that he's playing very, very well before he went out with COVID-19 protocol. He's one thing that I think every single broadcaster that watches the Bulls that I listen to has said, like, look, Lauri, what makes Lauri different is his ability to put the ball on the floor. If you just want to stand and spot up threes, like, any big guy can practice and do that. But what makes him different is his ability to go to the rim. And he was starting to do that a little bit. I'd like to see him do a little bit more. But where do you see Lauri fitting into this team and this franchise right now?
Well, the thing that I was worried about with Lauri is the best player that we've seen him be was in his first year on the Bulls. And year 2 and year 3, he consistently declined. And that was disappointing, because part of it could have been, his second year when he came back was the coaching change. They fired Fred the day before he came back, and then he has to get fucking Boylen for year 2 and all of year 3. So year 1 in the pace and space system that Hoiberg ran, he looks pretty good. This was a guy that put up 35 and 17 in Madison Square Garden as a rookie. Like, he was really playing well. Some like national basketball analysts were like, maybe the Bulls did get their star in this Jimmy Butler trade, and this is a guy that they can build around in the future. Then we start year 4, and he's one of the guys that people are talking about. Wow, I can't believe the Bulls didn't extend him. Like, he's going into the year having to prove himself so that he can hit the RFA market and sign a nice offer sheet and force the Bulls to match it. And now that's in question, because we don't know if he has COVID. He's in protocol. We don't know if he actually has the virus. The only person we know that actually has the virus on the Bulls was Garrett Temple previously, and now Thomas Satoransky has it. But I like seeing him aggressively attack the basket. The rebound numbers were up at the beginning of the year. But I think the question we have to ask, because everyone seems to be asking it at this point, how come when they started and Lauri looked good, the team results were poor? but Lowry goes out and suddenly the team rips off 4 out of 5. Like, what happened?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't. I still think, even as well as he's kind of play, like I still don't see the Lowry that we saw in that freshman year campaign. Like that guy, the person that everybody thought was going to be a star, he's gone almost. It seems like so. I
Is it
don't
just
know.
opening up floor spacing though for everybody? Because it's not like he was clogging the lane or anything. He was taking a lot of perimeter shots, but he's not a guy that's going to stand on the nail or the block and prevent Kobe or Zach or anybody from driving to the lane. So
One thing,
I want changing the game plan.
and this is just a guess because I haven't gone back and looked at film or anything, but maybe a guess would be his non-movement. You don't see him like cutting to the basket a lot, or once he finds his place, he'll float around a little bit on the outside, but he's not moving a lot. He's not making those cuts, and so I think it's easier for the defense maybe to cover him. Again, this is a complete guess, but if you look at the lineups that have been trotted out, it's a lot of athletic guys that are making cuts. They're playing that 2-man game. Like how we haven't seen a 2-man game that the Bulls have played this great in a couple of years. And it's not just two people. It's just literally the 2-man game is working. Those give and goes down the center of the lane, easy toss-up buckets. I'm not seeing that as much with Lowry on the court.
He was more of a pop guy that they were rarely using him as a rim runner, which I don't think is his game. I really don't think that he's a guy that can attack other bigs on the roll and run to the rim and get the ball and, rise up and score easily. He's more of a finesse player who needs to catch with his back to the basket if he's going to score down low. It's the fluid jump shot that's his best asset. And the only way that it really had been utilized in the last couple of years, honestly, was when he was popping out and playing catch and shoot 3. But that was a role that he didn't want. That's why he and Boylan locked horns so much last year, because all they were doing was saying, go stand in the corner or set a screen and pop out and we'll get you the ball. That's the only way that he was being used.
So what do you do? Like,
what do you do when he comes back?
Well, I mean, even beyond that, like I'll leave Donovan to figure out rotation stuff, but like from an organizational standpoint, like is he part of your future at this point?
I mean, you can't lose him for nothing. That's one big thing. They've already lost one piece of the Jimmy Butler trade piece for nothing. Chris Dunn just up and left and went to Atlanta, and that's unfortunate because the Bulls could really
totally fine.
He's hurt, so that I understand why they let him go, because when he got to Atlanta, it came out that he was still hurt. But they could use a perimeter defender of his caliber because this backcourt's defense is really bad. We'll get to that. But I mean, it's only been 9 games and he's only played in 2. Did he play in the Golden State game? I forget. I think it's only 2. I think he's just played in the 2 losses.
I honestly don't remember if he was
but
there.
He's going to have to come back. He's going to have to average 28 to 30 minutes a night. And he is going to have to show that he is worth someone either offering an offer sheet, or he plays well enough and the Bulls are like, well, if we don't believe in him, maybe at the deadline we can get something for this guy so that we don't have to match it. Because a lot of people have said maybe he's just a change of scenery candidate and somebody will find something that unlocks him. But as of right now, is he part of the future? Probably, but not for certain, by no means for certain.
Here's, I think, what is good is that if it was Gar Pax, he's probably a part of the future no matter what.
Because that would be admitting guilt that they fucked up the Butler trade.
Correct. And I think with AK in the current front office, maybe it's like they can have a more unbiased view of the potential or non-potential that he might have. So, going back to what I've said when AK was first hired, is like, look, I'm trusting his decision making until he proves me wrong. Like he didn't have like a very active off season, so we don't have like anything to really go on. But I think coming into this year, who he gives extensions to and who he doesn't, who he lets walk and who he doesn't, like it's going to be something that I'm just going to trust him on until he shows me.
Temple's pretty good for a veteran that they brought in. Good, and great I like example. Patrick Williams so far. So his decision making so far has not left anything to be desired so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that we wanted to touch on, you kind of alluded to it, was the backcourt defense. I love Kobe. I love Zach. God, they suck defensively.
So bad.
Like, what do we do?
They're so lucky De'Aaron Fox had a hamstring injury in the first 5 minutes of that game because I don't think Kobe goes off for 36 if he has to guard Fox for 30 minutes last night.
I mean, they still got schooled by Halliburton too.
Yeah, who's just a rookie too. I
Yeah.
mean, a good rookie, but a rookie nonetheless, and a rookie who just came back from injury.
Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting to see them playing together. I forget who I was listening to, but they were talking about Kobe White. Oh, it was the Windhurst podcast that you had shared, and they were like, Kobe White, love him, not a
Love
point
watching
guard.
him.
Yeah,
Well, love
not a
watching him.
point.
He's just, yeah, not a point guard yet, and I don't know if he'll ever get there. But just the drives out of control into the lane, they still occur a little bit too often. Yesterday was the first game where we were like, no turnovers, attacking the rim, 10 of 11 at the basket. Only I think it was 20% of his shots came at the basket before yesterday, and he was shooting like 41% on them. And yesterday he goes 10 of 11 at the rim, which is fucking awesome. Use that speed, man. Like, and his teammates are setting better screens. Wendell Carter was setting the worst fucking screens for the first 3 games of this year. It was driving me nuts. Like, either they were moving or he would just set and then just immediately roll and not let the guy run into him and impede the progress. Like, clearly that was a point of focus. But I mean, I still think they're one of the worst backcourts defensively in the NBA, but damn it if they can't score.
What do you do if I know that you've in our text group you've kind of been
I'm the Kobe hater.
not I wouldn't say you're a Kobe hater. There's just other people that like him more, namely me and Eli. So when Saddle comes back, are you
I
keeping
want
the
staggered
same?
minutes.
You
I
want
want
staggered, so
staggered.
you want Kobe off the bench?
No, I'm totally cool with him starting if they want to give this lead guard experiment time, because if we're going to play him at lead guard, or if we want to find out if he's a lead guard, he's going to have to play it, and he's going to have to start there. He's going to have to defend other teams' first unit point guards. So, like, let's see how that goes. This is a development year, and while we're trying to win, we got to figure out what these guys can and cannot do. But what I want to see is I want Zach to play the entire first quarter. And I want Kobe coming out at like the 5-6 minutes left to go mark. And Sato comes in then. Because I need to see Kobe play without Levine. And I want to see him at the 2 with Satoransky. I want to see him play that 2 guard spot because I really think that's what he is. But I just want to see the minutes staggered a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, again, like it's
because Denzel's going to the bench when Sato comes back.
I just think it's not like you have a embarrassment of riches on this team, but you have a lot of guys that are on the same playing field. Like they're in that same sort of talent category. And so you might lose
Useful
out.
piece on a good team, but not the best piece.
Yeah, exactly. So like you might lose out here and there if you pull the wrong lever or whatever. But like whatever lineups they're trotting out there, like honestly, I'm good with it. The only thing that I care about is that Kobe and Pat Will are getting development minutes. Like that is all I care about. How they start, if they don't, like I don't really care. It just matters like what the total minutes is and if they're playing not only minutes but important minutes, important NBA minutes where they have to make important, crucial decisions. I think that's where people learn.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Pat Will starting experiment, as much as I was against that when it first happened, let's be honest, Otto Porter has been the best player on the Bulls coming off the bench. He's been awesome this year.
I mean, he's got to be close to a double-double, at least averaging, right? I mean,
the rebounds have been there, but he's probably, if I had to guess, he's probably averaging like 13 and 7.
Yeah, I mean, his like just I rewatched the fourth quarter of the Kings game before we got on. And it's just like the dude doesn't stop. He's got a motor, and
he's a little chunky, but yeah, he moves.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to treadmill or stop ordering Jimmy John's every day. But I think I think it's just cool to see a guy like that he's a 3-and-D guy, but you don't always
need those.
Yeah, and you don't always see that type of hustle of getting those loose balls. And I think that is so important for some of these young guys, especially somebody like Pat Will that like
contract year.
Yes, 1,000%. And we all know it. The writing's on the wall. That reminds me. Do you extend him? Do you give him a contract?
Not now, but I mean, I'm definitely evaluating him up and through the deadline and taking calls on him the whole time. And if I feel like I can get a package in return for him that improves us more for the future than keeping him around does, yes, I'm moving on from him and making that trade. But if I don't get something that I need, I think Eli sent the email to Casey Johnson's mailbag, and Casey's exactly right. It's not like the Bulls are, overrun with these 3-and-D guys. They need them. So if he's on the team at the end of the year, I think you got to bring him back. He's
Yeah.
27 years old.
Yeah, and I was surprised by that. I thought he was a little bit older, but only 27. And man, 3-and-D guys gotta lock him down, in my opinion.
And yeah, and he can play the 3 and the 4. He can play the small ball 4 if the Bulls need him to.
I don't think the question of talent is there. I think the problem that the Bulls are going to have to evaluate is like, is he going to be healthy? Like,
Yeah,
okay, so we give him this contract.
Sure.
How many of these years is he actually going to play?
Because, I mean, he came over 2 years ago. He played like 15% of the games last year. And even when he came over in the trade, there was a lot of maintenance days, a lot of sitting out here and there. So, yeah, I mean, that's just been his bugaboo the whole time. He gets that offer sheet from the Nets. The Wizards match it, and then the guy just can't stay on the court.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about Pat Will, Billy Donovan. Let's move to the NBA. Pat Will, I love him.
I like him a lot.
I mean,
it's just one of those guys. Like, it was like when I went to go see Miguel Amaya at South Bend, and you're just like, that guy has the body of a major league player.
Yeah.
Patrick Williams has the body of an NBA basketball player.
I mean, he's just, there is no fear in this guy too. Like, and in a good way. Like, Trae Young has no fear because he's going to shoot everything. Zach Young has no fear because he's going to shoot everything. Pat Will is just out there playing basketball. Like, he is up for taking direction. If you pass it to him and he's open, he will shoot the 3. That's amazing. Like, think about Wendell Carter Jr. the other year, just in the lane, getting the ball wide open and would still just pass it away. Like, confidence is something that sometimes is you just have to have it, and you can learn it. You can learn confidence. You can build on it, but to come into the NBA and just know your role, know what you're trying to do, and just play within yourself and let the game come to you, that's something that it's hard to teach. And it's just fun to watch him.
So do you think he can defend threes in the NBA?
I mean, he's played what? We just said there's 7 games in. So 9, sorry. Yeah, probably at some point, like he's got the athletic build to get out there.
He definitely puts in the effort.
And like, you don't have to be the fastest person to be a good defender. Like Bruce Bowen wasn't super fast, but he was like one of the best perimeter defenders of his time. You just have to know where to be and when. You have to watch film. You have to know what that is like. And, that'll come. Like, every rookie is bad at defense.
For sure. And he has the straight line speed. I just worry, does he have the lateral movement to stay in front of NBA wings like a Jaylen Brown, or trying to think of other guys that are really quick side to side on the wing? But that's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't seen, I haven't seen it yet, but that's not to say that he can't grow into the role. Right now, I feel like his best defensive position is at the 4 because he's got the size. Kid can jump out of the fucking gym, man. He can leap like no other. That floater, when he gets in the lane, he gets so high up. It's weird because I noticed this the first few times in the preseason games. His jump shot, he shoots it on the way up. But that floater, when he gets into the lane, he waits until he gets to the apex of the jump and his hand is over the defender so nobody can block that shot. And it is a smooth floater, man. There is nobody on this team that has a floater like that. Kobe likes to think that he does when he drives to the lane. Doesn't quite have it because he's a little bit smaller. But man, Pat can the kid can score. I mean,
yeah.
And the Bulls have needed a wing scorer for God knows since Jimmy Butler left.
Yep. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, keeping at the 4 is like what you have to do. I wouldn't want him running out there at the 3 and like, good luck. I don't know, dude. I don't know what happens if you do that.
I think offensively he can crush other like if a wing is defending him, he can body the fuck out of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just don't know if he can stay in front of them on the defensive end. The weird thing, and I put it in the outline for us, 50% on catch and shoot threes. He's only averaging a little less than 2 a game, but let's bump that up because the kid, they had the video yesterday. The Bulls put it out. It was like Pat will go crazy. I think it was Temple and Denzel were like encouraging him on the corner threes. And he was just, I know it's an empty gym and it's just practice, but he was swishing one after another on catch and shoot. The kid can catch and shoot.
Yeah. I mean, I think he had at least 2 in the Kings game. One was up top. He had like 2 steps back from the point of the arc. I mean, it hit the rim 20 times before it went in. But I mean, like, again, like, even if he misses that shot, just having the confidence to take that shot, knowing that, like, if you keep missing it, you're not going to get that rock every time you're open. And I think that's cool. Like I can't say I would have that type of confidence if I had his abilities.
The other thing I really liked was when they played the Bucks, no fear defending Giannis. He was like, "That's the guy I got to defend. All right, I'm gonna give this a fucking shot. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see how it goes." And Giannis kicked his ass because Giannis is the best player in the league.
It's Giannis,
But
right?
yeah,
But yeah, I've been really really happy with him thus far. Billy
are you?
Donovan.
Well, before we move on from Pat, are you happy with the selection? Considering some of the guys that have been picked behind him, including Halliburton, who went 12.
I mean, it's very clear that Halliburton was the steal of the draft.
Him and Precious
Um,
Achua for Miami. Miami just drafts amazing players because they're Miami, apparently.
yeah, they find people that are going to fit well in their culture, which is exactly what you should do.
Hashtag King
And they have
culture.
good scouting as well. I mean, look. I mean, we can go back and redraft all day, but standing here
It
nine
wasn't a
games in.
reach.
No, standing here 9 games into the NBA season, the youngest person taken in the NBA draft. We've seen good, we've seen a little bit of bad, but I can't say like 1,000% that we should have taken Halliburton over Pat Will. I mean, again, like it matters. It's like drafting a quarterback. Like, who's to say that if the Bears had gotten Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, they would be as good on the Bears? Would they be really, really good and better than
Mute
Mitch?
yourself.
But again, like it's sometimes it's just about system and culture, and that's why I think the Heat are so good at drafting is because they draft people that fit well with what they're trying to do. So again, going back to your original question of, am I happy with the selection considering who's went after him? Yes.
Me too. I'm okay with it. They didn't miss on some kind like the last year. I am kind of now in hindsight, it's like, man, they could have had fucking Tyler Hero, but whatever.
Again,
Like,
like Tyler Hero could come to Chicago and be like, "Fuck everyone! Like, give me the rock." Like he could have done that. He has that type of personality, but I think he's kept kind of in check in that Heat culture, and it's perfect for him.
yeah, I agree.
Um,
Billy Donovan appreciation time.
Billy Donovan, Billy D. How about let's take a step back from this? How about some AK appreciation for knowing that Billy Donovan was going to be available and then actually landing him after we had the disaster of a coach that we have come from? Like,
Yeah.
let's give some credit to just the front office for getting them when we did.
Yeah. I mean, I was like lukewarm when he got hired because I was like,
Same.
the Thunder couldn't get to the finals with KD in his first year. They blew the 3-1 lead.
It could be Billy Donovan fatigue, I think, is what we both had of like, yeah, he won 2 titles. Like, we know about Noah. We know about like his big, we know about that big three that he had there and like, whatever. He goes to the Thunder, doesn't do anything really. So it's like, I think we just had fatigue of Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I agree. And I was hoping for, I guess I was kind of like, we need to find the up and coming assistant coach that's going to come in, the Tibbs that is going to be a great coach. But they got a guy who's already proven that he can coach, he can develop. And these, like we said earlier, these guys trust and believe in him. They are on board. Jim lost the room on day 2 when he called for a practice after a fucking 50-point loss in a back-to-back. Billy Donovan's not going to do that. And Billy Donovan not only Boylan called his guys out in the worst possible way when they screwed up. Billy Donovan knows how to say things in a post-game press conference when guys screw up without being like, there's the bus and I'm going to put you right underneath the tires. He's going to say, we did this, this, and this wrong. We recognize it. We're going to go look at the film tomorrow and then we're going to work on it in practice.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it's, obviously he's a better basketball coach in general, but just
He's
the
a better
player
guy.
relations. What's that?
He's a better guy.
just he has more hair. I think that's what it comes down to. He's just
He doesn't look like a human thumb.
He's got a great head of hair, But I'm excited. I think there could be a time where 3 years from now we're looking at like a 500 basketball team and you got to move on. But I think Lou said it. Right place, right time for Billy Donovan. Just he knows how to talk to these young guys. He's not that far removed from college. He just gets it. It seems like.
Yeah, I think a young group actually works better for him than a veteran group. Although it's probably nice to have some of these veterans. Like, you can tell he trusts Garrett Temple. He's probably using Garrett Temple in practices on the second team, making sure that he's like, hey, go out there and fucking guard Zach and Kobe. I know you probably can't stay in front of them, but give them hell. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt. I was going to say the The other thing that I like about him is like we're going to talk about around the NBA in a second here, but look at a team like the Knicks. They kind of have the same sort of like
stay up.
they had the same sort of like kind of makeup. Like they got RJ Barrett, they got like Randall's been around for a while, but they got
Mitchell
like
Robinson.
a pretty young team, youngish, maybe a little bit older than the Bulls. But if you look at their minute usage, I think we were talking about this recently too. Like
3 of the
you got
top 5 in
guys,
the NBA.
yeah, you got guys that are averaging like 35, 38 minutes. And like,
RJ
yeah,
Barrett's averaging 43 minutes a night.
I think it's less than that. Is that per 40 that you got? Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 43 a night, which is insane.
I looked at it before and I thought it was somewhere around 38, but you could be right. Maybe I had just the wrong input there. But my point here is that, regardless if it's 43 or 38, it's fucking a lot of minutes, for
It's
that
too
young
many.
guy. And like, yeah, they're fourth or fifth in the East, but like at what cost? And so if you juxtapose that with what Billy Donovan is doing, where you got guy, like we don't know really what lineups are going to be trotted out at any time because, again, going back to my point earlier, where the team really, outside of a couple of players, about the same sort of talent level. So you're just trying to find the mix and match to figure out what works while also having development. Whereas the Knicks are just like, we got to win games. We have to win games with our best players, and this is what's going to happen, which is fine if you have a team that was built like Tibbs had with the Bulls. But with the Knicks, like they are going to hit a brick wall. And we'll get to the Knicks in a second. I don't mean to get in front of my head here, but like just thinking about the differences between those two franchises and who they hired and how they're going about not only playing but winning and losing some basketball games, it's fascinating to me because of just the minute load.
The thing that, man, we have no love for the Knicks or anything, but I do have to say it's actually kind of a shame that the pandemic is happening for multiple reasons, but because Tibbs is going to be embraced by those 90s Knicks fans like he is the fucking messiah, because he is going to frog stomp up and down that sideline yelling ice, ice, or stay up, or whatever the fuck he's going to yell. And those guys are going to love him. He is going to be the new Van Gundy for that team. He really is.
I don't think 90s Knicks fans give a shit. To be honest with you, I think 90s Knicks fans are so far removed from the Knicks and they just want to see a win every now and then. I don't think they give a shit how it happens or if it's tough no defense from Tibbs. They're just like, look, hey, can we have a basketball team that knows which way to go and can put the ball in the hoop? That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's weird, though, that they're actually winning in a year and trying to win in a year when there's a loaded draft and they need young talent.
It's the most Knicks thing ever.
Please keep winning, Knicks. Please keep winning.
But yeah, so going back to Billy Donovan, I think we're all aligned. Great hire. Really excited to see what he does just with the team and just propping up these young guys. Again, it's all about growth and it's all about building something.
Let's put it. Let's close with the Bulls on this. Very simply, the Bulls are watchable again. They're fun to watch.
Yes. Exactly. Perfectly put. You're going to turn them on.
I don't feel like it's a chore to watch a Bulls game.
Which it 1,000% has been for the past year and a half. So
yes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. James Harden. I
got the Magic City Wings.
Oh my God. Yeah, AB did the Magic City Wings. If you're not familiar with that, it's Lou Williams special. It's where he got
lemon pep wings, man. They're really good. You can get them on Goldbelly. It's $100 for 50 wings, but it was worth it.
It's a famous strip club that is famous for their wings. And AB, I'll never forget the text. He said, all it's missing is some glitter and some underwear in the box. So
yeah, maybe some pasties or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to ask you, are you trading for this guy?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
Like no question. I mean, there's, and I'm surprised I said that, to be honest with you. Like I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now. Because I've been reading a lot about just the culture that was fostered around Harden, and it really was a failure.
Whatever James wants.
Yeah, it just really was just an all around failure, top down. I don't even think it's James Harden's fault. Like he was given the keys to the castle, and what are you going to do? Like if you're told that you're one of the greatest players of all time, and the franchise is giving you all these outs, then like what do you like? Of course, you're going to give in to your desires and do whatever the fuck you want. The flip side of that,
let's go down his trade list real quick though, because I think this is interesting to explore though.
Okay,
Like,
go ahead.
and just be like, yeah, I think they should do it or no. His number one team that he wants to go to is the Brooklyn Nets.
Pass.
I'm also saying if I'm Brooklyn, like Mike D'Antoni's on that bench, and also you have two stars who are ball dominant players.
Yeah.
The fuck are you doing acquiring James Harden? Like they came out really good.
It's not just two ball dominant players. It's that Kyrie. Can you imagine Kyrie Irving and James Harden in the same team?
Oh my god, the Instagram posts. It would be like a fucking hieroglyphics reading.
Dude, Kyrie would go underground and get the Illuminati to come after
Yeah.
James Harden, I think.
I think that would be a disaster. So yeah, we both agree Brooklyn no.
All right, next one.
Philadelphia.
Hmm.
It's basically Simmons for Harden straight up, which if I'm Houston, that's the return I want. That's the best return out there.
There's I guess this question is a little bit different because like is it plausible or should they? What's the question?
Well, if you're Philadelphia, are you trading Ben Simmons for James Harden?
Not if it's Daryl Morey. Like if it's any other GM, maybe, but not if I'm Daryl Morey.
I think it's actually the other way. Daryl
Really?
Morey wants to do it. I think
Oh, really?
Daryl loves James. Absolutely. I mean, he's the one that fostered the culture of whatever James wants. I think he would do it if it was that straight up and there were no picks involved. They didn't have to do the 2 picks and 2 swaps or whatever. I think Daryl would do it because Daryl is like Joel Embiid is built to win now, and I got to win in the next 2 or 3 years. And James is better equipped to get me there than Ben is.
Well, it's an easy question. Are you better with Ben Simmons or are you better with James Harden? And I think the answer.
I don't know if I know the answer.
I think the answer is very clearly James Harden. Ben Simmons has never even come close to an MVP or a scoring title.
First team all defense.
I don't give a shit.
Third team all NBA.
Doesn't matter. Has never been it's just who is better. Like who
James
analytically is better. James Harden.
But here's the other thing you got to consider with that. Is he going to feed Embiid enough to be happy, or is he going to turn him into a glorified screener?
Yeah, I mean, there's all these caveats to that. Like it's the weirdest conversation team I think we can talk about because of the personalities that are involved.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, let's move on to the next one. Toronto.
Yeah, pick up the phone and make the trade yesterday. I mean,
you're giving up Siakam?
Fuck yeah, I'm giving up Siakam. Like, look at Siakam this year, and look at what Toronto's done. They're not great. Siakam has not taken that step forward.
6.
Yeah, like Siakam has not taken that step forward to say like, this is my team. I'm going to be all NBA every single year, which is what needs to happen if you're going to be a max player. James Harden makes Toronto one of the favorites in the East if he goes there.
So here's the thing you got to balance with that. He's got 2 years and an option left. This year, the Raptors are playing in Tampa. That's a whole other set of caveats that you have to deal with because they're not playing in their home building. They're away from their families. It's just kind of a fucked up vibe all around. So I don't know, man. Masai is the guy who will put the dick on the table and say, I'll take 1 year of Kawhi. We'll go for it. It worked out.
I think Toronto makes the most sense in my head because Toronto and another team, which we can talk about in a minute, but I think Toronto makes the most sense because Usai isn't extended yet, right? Like he's going to be a free agent after this year. So if it goes,
if you're the owners of the Raptors, though, are you okay with your general manager who is unsigned saying 3 picks, 2 swaps, Siakam, give me James?
Let me ask you a different question: is James Harden going to sign in Toronto as a free agent?
No.
Okay, so like that, I think you have to take these chances when they come at your doorstep. Think about pre-Kawhi going to Toronto. Toronto was not on anybody's radar, and when
they were just a team that was like they'll make the second round and they're out.
Yeah, exactly. And like, what are they now? Like, they're not a second round team. Like, they're maybe a playoff team if they can like turn around. Obviously, they've been playing really shitty, but on paper. Like they could be a decent little team. They got experience, but most of their core is gone. So I'm rambling here, but yes, James Harden, 1000%. You make that trade, include Pascal Siakam because you're going to be a better basketball team.
Okay, here's the hard one for me. If you're Danny Ainge, are you trading Jaylen Brown for James Harden? I'm not. Not only because of the basketball stuff, but because off the court, Jaylen Brown is going to be a leader in the city of Boston for the next 10 years. And also, they're already pretty good.
I think again, you got to ask yourself the question: are you better with Brown or are you better with Harden?
I think you're better with Brown. I don't
Really?
think Tatum and Harden
I'm
can
not so
coexist.
sure. I mean, I think about some playoff series and even some close games with the Celtics where Tatum's not able to close it out. Kemba is,
I think
he's a.
Kemba's in the trade.
Oh, you really do?
I think it's Kemba and Jalen for PJ Tucker and James Harden.
I'd probably do it then. If Kemba's going and you're going to get PJ Tucker, I I don't know, man. That is a hard one. You're right. That's the
That's the
toughest one so
hardest
far.
one for me because I
Yeah,
have to consider the non-basketball aspects of Jaylen Brown. Like that dude drove 8 miles from Boston to Atlanta after the George Floyd stuff and was leading a protest in downtown Atlanta. Like he just the character that you get with Jaylen Brown, you're not getting that with James Harden. You're just not.
but if I could play the other side of that, you're not winning championships with character all the time.
Sure,
You know,
no, that's a good point.
Dennis Rodman has what, 2 rings, 3 rings. So I I don't know. James Harden is a future Hall of Famer. I don't know about Brown yet.
Here's the easy one for me: Milwaukee.
Uh,
You got to
I,
send out Middleton. You got to send out probably Holiday.
that's a slam dunk too, right?
No, I'm saying it's an absolute no because, dude, Giannis talked shit about Harden during the All Star draft last year.
So I'm looking at this from like just a pure. Are they better or worse? I'm taking out some of the back drama that's coming into this. But if you feel like it's together, then I understand that. But James Harden and Giannis on the same team, woo!
The other thing you have to look from Houston's side, there's no picks. They traded all their picks for Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
So you're not recouping any of those picks that you gave to OKC for fucking Russell Westbrook. So I think that's a hard one. I don't think it happens.
What about Miami? What do you think about that?
I think Heat culture is not a match for James Harden.
Oh, I think it's perfect. I think it's
You
an.
think
Oh,
Jimmy and him can coexist?
I do. The only thing Jimmy cares about is winning, dude. And I know
I
that.
agree, but do you think like James is going to be like, hey, when we fly and we play in, I don't know, a city, when we go to Atlanta, we're staying an extra night because I want to go to the fucking club.
But this is my point: is that I think the Heat culture will be perfect for him because one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to buy in and they're going to win a title, or he's not going to buy in. And what's the worst that could happen? Like Spoelstra's not going anywhere. The evil emperor is not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Like
Pat loves it there.
they all have job security. So if they miss on Harden or it doesn't work out, what's the worst that could happen? Because I think they reached the pinnacle of what they could reach last year by just getting to the finals.
And their window is short because Jimmy's not a spring chicken.
No, I mean Tibbs almost ruined his career. Like it's not like they have a ton of time. Like they are on the clock, and you're having to go up against AD and LeBron in the West. So you got to do something because this squad right now, I love the Heat and I love Tyler Hero, I love Duncan, I love the entire roster, but they're not going to win the title. So I think James Harden makes a lot of sense there because you automatically have a number one scorer. They don't really have that right now. Like they have a lot of guys that can make buckets. And like maybe Hero is that guy in the future, but they don't have the guy outside of Jimmy Butler where they can say, go create, go get a bucket.
What if Raphael Stone says, I'm not doing this trade if Bam Adebayo is not in it?
Then you say, fuck off.
Yeah, I agree.
Bam's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Bam's untouchable.
And that's who I'd ask for if I was the Rockets. I'd say, give me Bam. But
How
you're
about Bam,
probably,
Hero, and Robinson? All of
yeah,
them.
I mean, Hero and Duncan are gone for sure. But you have to retain the core. I think you have to retain the core of Jimmy, Bam, and Dragic. You have to keep those three. I know Dragic is coming off the bench, but I think that's an important bench piece.
The other fun one that people have bandied about. What about the Warriors?
I mean, so what do you like trading Klay Thompson?
They probably ask for Wiseman.
I mean, they're not going to trade Wiseman.
I agree. I just don't think he's a fit there.
Are you better? See, the Warriors is a weird one because, again, like going back to the question,
Clay's coming back next year.
are you better with Harden or are you better with not Harden on your current squad? And I think, Steph, um, like you already have the greatest shooter in the history of the
Great
game on
time.
your team. You want the third one too? Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't think Golden State immediately becomes better like some of these other teams. Now, if Klay Thompson isn't there, if Draymond isn't there, then maybe. But like, I'm not giving up Wiseman. I don't think maybe I'm overvaluing Wiseman, but I just don't think I'm gonna do that for Harden if I have the greatest shooter of all time on my team.
And as much as I'm a talent wins over everything, the NBA more than any other league is so much about fit. And I James Ball does not jive with Steph running off 8 million screens and getting the ball for an open shot because I just don't think James is going to get him the ball.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously James is very, very unhappy right now, and it's extremely apparent because I saw John Wall stand in the corner for about 10 minutes one time asking for the ball. So, I don't know, dude. It's
I think you're
so let
actually
me.
pretty good if he stays there.
Yeah, I do
Christian Wood
too.
is good. John
I
Wall
think.
looks like a good player again.
Yep, I think they could. I don't think they win in a series against LA, but I think that they could probably at least put up a fight.
I think they could
Um,
give the Clippers a run.
oh, no doubt. I absolutely think that. But I think and I should have said this at the beginning. I don't like James Harden. I
Me
wouldn't want
neither.
him. Like,
Can't
if the
stand
Bulls
him.
traded for him, I would be, I think, happy because I think we'd be a better basketball team and it would signify like the direction of the franchise. But if I have a chance between James Harden and another superstar, like fuck, like he's so boring to watch. I just
It's
hate
aesthetically
watching.
just so unpleasing. You dribble the
Oh,
air out of the ball for 18 seconds and then hit a step back three.
it's so awful. It's so awful. All right, so we got a couple more minutes here. Who do you want to touch on really quickly? You want to talk about the Knicks, the MVP rankings, the
I kind of want to talk
Suns?
about the Suns. Have you
Okay.
watched the Suns?
I haven't. I haven't watched one Suns game yet.
You gotta watch the Suns, dude. They are fucking
Is Ayton back?
fun. Aiton's playing. Chris Paul is running that offense, and honestly, Booker looks like Curry with Chris Paul at the point because he's running off screens, catching, and then when Chris goes to the bench, it's in his hands. Chris running pick and rolls with Ayton looks awesome. That team looks. I mean, fucking hey, man, they have a good deep roster. They really
Booker's
do.
been there for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Think he's in year. Here, I'm gonna look right now. I think he's in
But
year 5 or 6.
yeah, I mean, the Suns have
I
been
also
looking.
really like Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's good.
Yeah, he's decent. Um, I know it's Chris Paul and he's going to go in the Hall of Fame, but the Suns have been looking for this type of point guard for a long time, and I think
Oh
honestly,
well, they had so many forever, like when they had Dragic, and then they had none.
right. Well, they had Ricky Rubio last year, so it's like they kind of transitioned well from Rubio to like a Hall of Famer. But it's just funny. Like Booker played point guard for a hot minute, I think 1 year, and it was just like, dude, if they could just give Booker a point guard and a big man, they'd be good. And like, look what
Yes.
happens. They draft Aiton. You surround Booker with Chris Paul, and he's going to just immediately make you better. So yeah, I guess I got to tune into some Suns games.
Also, I regret to inform you that the campaign bubble experience has rolled over into the season, and he's playing 30 a night. He is coming off the bench for Chris Paul, and he's playing really well. Like, what the fuck, man? Team
I don't
Commander
know.
Payne.
I think we got to get Boylan on the phone. Can we get Boylan on this podcast? We, I just have a lot of questions. Hey, first of all, how dare you?
How dare you put me through all that shit for fucking a year and a half? Ah.
Second question: is campaign bad?
Apparently not. And they have so many good complimentary pieces like Mikal Bridges, like I said, Cam Johnson, Campaign's pretty good. Dario Saric is good. Jay Crowder's good.
Yeah, it's
That's a
interesting.
good team. Like that's
It's
a
an
team
interesting
if you're in the
roster.
West, if they're in the West and they're like the 5th seed, God help you if you're the 4th seed and you have to play them in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at teams like Utah and Denver that like have not taken that step forward that you would
Utah, I don't
anticipate.
get it, man.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
get
what the
it.
fuck's going on with them this year. Like they
Just
can't defend anyone.
don't give extensions to centers. That's the takeaway there.
They gave up like 136 points to the Nuggets the other night.
Yeah, yeah. Those Western teams are weird. Those mountain teams.
That's my favorite player to watch though this year is Jokic.
He's so fun. He's just smooth. Like he doesn't make bad decisions. If he misses a pass, it's your fault, not his.
You've got to see the pass the other night in that Wolves game. He gets a defensive rebound. They're running down the floor. He gets to probably about 5 feet before half court, and he fires this skip pass. It goes right at a Minnesota defender, and he puts so much spin on it that right when it hits the ground, he's like, it's coming right to me. It goes around him, and the guy just falls over and is like, what the fuck is this sorcery?
He broke an ankle on a pass. That takes
It's
skill.
awesome. Went right into the lane. Guy caught it right between the numbers and went up for a layup. It was awesome. I love him. He's got the dad bod, man.
He does have the dad bod, and he lost weight this year.
I know.
Let's end on who you too early MVP is for this year. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first. Or do you want me to go first?
I don't give a shit. I'll go first. My MVP so far this year is Steph Curry. You know, he had a career high game. 62. I think we have 62 or 61 points.
62.
He's playing on a team that is very inexperienced. Draymond is not looking great.
But when he came back, everything changed.
No doubt. So, like, obviously, Draymond is the glue of that team. You know, obviously, Steph Curry is going to be a Hall of Famer, but Steph Curry, without his scoring, the Warriors, might have won one game. So I just think
against the Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just cool to see him come back healthy and just give the middle finger to everybody that's like, he might be done. It's just a Steph being Steph again, going back to his hurt days, when he was first coming out of Davidson. So I don't know. I think right now, 9 games in, he's your MVP.
So I love how after he scored the 62, when he went to the podium for the post-game press conference, and they were like, so Steph, all the slander that's been listed and all that. And he pulled out the Last Dance line. I took that personally.
I took that personally.
Yeah, that was great. My MVP. So I have a list. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Damn, got a list.
So it's a lot of big guys. My MVP so far is Jokic. I know the Nugs are not coming out to a great start, but without him, he is the straw that stirs the drink. The Nuggets, I love Jamal Murray, but I think we're on year 3 now of fucking, Gary Harris shooting 29% from 3. It's like, all right.
So good his first year too.
I know. It's like, dude, this is 3 years in a row. This isn't working. But Jokic is having such a good year. First team All NBA center. That dude is so much fun to watch. However, there is a center right behind him in Philadelphia that is kicking ass this year. And I do not like Joel Embiid, but he is playing his fucking nuts off this year. And I really like what Doc is doing there. I watched, was it 2 nights ago or was it last night that I watched them? I think it might have been last night. So Brett Brown used to take Joel out after 6 minutes and then bring him out with 6 minutes left in the second quarter and then play him more in the second half. Doc lets the big fella eat for all 12 minutes of the first quarter and then brings him back with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. He is the rhythm he's developing, and he's staggering him and Simmons a little bit, but he's also not putting Simmons in the fucking dunker spot. And then my third one is Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
should we talk about KD briefly? Because you and I have both watched a few Nets games this year.
Well, we got skin in the game. We got some money on this, so yes. Obviously I'm going to pull for KD to pull this out. I just think the Nets have been an interesting team this year. They're absolutely smoking Philly right now.
That Hawks game was nuts, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, even it's just weird. I don't see Kevin Durant he's not even on my list right now for MVP. I mean, he's playing well. Yeah, he's playing well, but I feel like your bigs have a better case for MVP than Kevin Durant does, just because of the skill that's on the Nets right now.
Yeah,
I feel like the voters are going to take that into consideration. But
and KD's also in COVID protocol right now.
But 2 months from now, when we forget about all this and Kevin Durant is averaging 35 points a game, then we'll have a different conversation.
You're holding your $8.50 ticket in the air.
Yeah, babe. Gonna go to the strip club, get some wings. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a weird season, but I think thus far the talent and the amount of teams. Let me back up here. If I could sum up this season so far, what I think is going to happen, I think that I've never seen this amount of talent spread out so far across the NBA.
So many teams going for it. So many teams that have a chance.
like League Pass is literally you could turn it on, and with the exception of maybe like a few teams, even the
OKC is the
Knicks.
only team you don't want to
You could turn on
watch.
the Knicks right now. At least see RJ Barrett and Randall like playing 38 minutes a night. Like I can't think of a team offhand where I'm like, I 1000% will not watch them.
OKC.
Even OKC, I like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I watched him play the other night. Like every
Detroit.
team, Detroit is a good one. However,
Unless you want to
did
see five centers.
I did read that Jeremiah Grant piece, so I'm kind of like on the Jeremiah Grant
Yeah, I like
bandwagon.
Jeremy
But
Grant. Yeah.
yeah.
I
All
wish
right, well
Blake was healthy.
same. All right, we're at an hour. Let's wrap this up. Any parting words here, AB?
Speaking of Kevin Durant and John Wall, who we mentioned earlier, those two give me hope that Clay will recover well from his Achilles injury. Because
Yes, I
apparently
think.
we can repair that now.
Yeah. I remember you saying that via text too. I think that's a really, really good point. Of like, hey,
I
maybe
miss
this
Clay,
is
man.
he's just so much fun. I mean, especially him and Steph together. Like Clay's not as fun without Steph, and vice versa. Honestly, like Steph is a
And
lot
we
of
don't have to
fun.
watch as many fucking Wiggins, slowly coming off a screen and shooting a fucking terrible 18-footer.
Wiggins has played well though. I'll give him that.
Ugh.
All right,
What are
guys.
you
Well,
what are you closing with?
let's just say go Bulls. We always say go Bulls, but I really do mean it this time. Because
Me
again, like you
too.
said, I think you put it really well. The Bulls are watchable again, and as a sports fan, like obviously you want championships, but championships are few and far between. You just want to watch a team that you can get pissed at a little bit, but on the whole, you're having fun watching. And I think we just haven't had that in a long time. So that's what I'll close with.
I'll close with a guy I haven't mentioned all show. Luca, pick it up, buddy.
Gotta hit that three, man. Gotta hit that three. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. This is the 45th episode, the Denzel Valentine episode, according to AB. Make sure to follow us on Talkin Toros. That's with no G. I'm at MPhelps11. AB is at Souvenir City, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care, everybody.